Hello, everyone. I'm the not-so-humble host of All Things Pop Culture Kaboom, Jimmy Jones, and this is the debut of the latest addition to Pop Culture Kaboom, co-host Blake Haya.
Howdy, Radioland.
And welcome to being a part of Pop Culture Kaboom. Let's talk upcoming movies, and we would like to hear your thoughts on them in the comments. So if you have an opinion, agree with us, or just think it's funny, let us know. Each week, the Film Powers That Be release dozens of movies in theaters, on VOD, and on streaming services, some of which you will never hear about except here. Each week's upcoming releases are carefully picked over from various websites, and up to 5 films are randomly selected from the only genres I would really watch, which are action-adventure, horror, science fiction, animated, or fantasy, and that is pretty much it. With that in mind, we sit through some of the most hideous trailers ever made, and we'll read you the synopsis of each of the films, then give you our not-so-humble opinions. We only go off of what is available to you, the general public, which is the synopsis and the trailer, so bear in mind we are not professional movie critics, we are just overly opinionated blowhards. But Pop Culture Kaboom does utilize a carefully crafted and patented movie rating system, which goes as follows. If it is worth seeing in a theater at full price, it is a good, not a great. That is to be determined by you if you choose to see it in a theater. If it is worth seeing in a theater as a matinee or in your town's cheap theater, it is a so-so. If it should be seen on a streaming service or as a rental or however you choose to watch the film while avoiding social interaction, it is a blah. And if it is deemed so awful you should wait for it to be on public television, it is considered a touch brown. So here are the movies coming out the week of March 23rd through April 1st that meet my criteria. You can watch the actual trailers as they were intended in the links in the description, and Pop Culture Kaboom recommends, whenever possible, watch films as they were intended in your local theaters. So I'm going to throw a dart at the proverbial dartboard here and start with The Serpent's Skin, a supernatural romance that follows Anna after she escapes from her small transphobic town and a romantic relationship she develops with another young woman, a goth tattooed artist named Jen. After unwittingly unleashing a demon that begins feeding on their friends, the pair need to face their insecurities in order to defeat evil. All right, and here's my thoughts on that one. Watching the trailer for The Serpent Skin is like trying to solve a Rubik's Cube while falling down a flight of stairs. I'm convinced the person who wrote the synopsis only watched the first 12 seconds of the teaser immediately after waking up from a heavy nap and before the brain had been introduced to a single molecule of caffeine. The synopsis promises a cross-country move and ancient demons. The trailer, however, delivers what feels like a scripted film and more like a high-stakes improv set gone horribly wrong. We start with glowing-eyed scanners rejects and somehow pivot without so much as a turn signal into a cult of psychic vampires. This leads us to the film's most pressing biological mystery. Why do psychic vampires who allegedly siphon life force through a victim's gaping mouth need overly pronounced canines? It's functionally redundant. It is the cinematic equivalent of attaching a duct-taped broadswords to a vacuum cleaner. Unless you're planning to tenderize the life force before they inhale it, these things are just a workplace safety hazard. Then there's the audio. I'm a firm believer that score plus soundscape equals soul, but in this trailer, the music doesn't just provide depth, it commits a felony. The soundtrack is so aggressively loud it effectively witness protects the dialogue into total obscurity. By the time of the end, I don't feel like I've seen a trailer for a theatrical release. I felt like I had just survived an experimental music video about an anatomically confused succubus. In my opinion, The Serpent Skin is a 10-10 for dental enthusiasts and a 0-10 for anyone who enjoys knowing what the characters are saying. I'm giving it a touch brown. What say you?
Oh, for an Australian film, I was surprised this trailer didn't have a lot more cursing in it.
It was Australian.
It was Australian. I did a little bit of all of these I did a little bit of research on.
Oh, I'm sorry.
The description lost me in the first 3 words, and frankly, so did the trailer. If you were to mix Twilight and The Coven into a softcore pornography with Skinamax budgeting, that's a lot what this looks like. I scrolled down to read the comments under the video, and there weren't any. So no help there for my research. Even the description under the video only spends one of its 9 paragraphs talking about the film, and the rest was talking about the director and their work. Good on them for highlighting an up-and-coming director, but it's telling that they didn't have much to say about the film itself, and summarily, neither do I. This is a touch brown.
Okay, the first mud brick of the week. So what is next?
Oh, let's see. They Will Kill You.
Will they?
From boredom, perhaps. They Will Kill You unleashes a blood-soaked, high-octane horror action comedy in which a young woman must survive the night at the Virgil, a demonic cult's mysterious and twisted death trap of a lair, before becoming their next offering in a unique, brazen, big-screen battle of epic kills and wickedly dark humor. That was a word salad. Oh, my goodness. And now this is a trailer that gave everything away in its trailer. This looks like they took the go-go bar scene from Kill Bill and just tried to keep that energy for the whole runtime. See, the thing is, if you go straight to 10 and stay there the whole time, it's the same as if you had stayed at 1 for the whole run, and it's just exhausting. This feels like it's trying to tick a lot of the boxes that these overly violent, campy films try to tick. But unlike the aforementioned Tarantino film, this feels like it has no real substance or pacing. If they can keep up all the goofy, campy edge without flip-flopping on the tone, this might be entertaining enough to amuse the gore-porn crowd or the shut-in high school mass murder and waiting demographic. But otherwise, I feel like this went so far out there that it came back around to just being generic. They will kill you with tedium. This is a touch brown for me as well.
Wow. Okay. 2 touch browns for you. You might flatline this week. Okay. I just finished the trailer for They Will Kill You, and I have great news for my schedule. I no longer need to see the full 90-minute plus movie. The marketing team has graciously provided a best-of compilation that renders the actual theatrical release entirely optional. It's less of a teaser and more of a gory highlight reel. I find a certain comedic value in Three Stooges-style cinematic slaughter, but I like my unbridled carnage served with at least a side salad of plot. The setting is a hotel that serves as a satanic cult headquarters, boasting a backstory that would make the Overlook Hotel turn green with envy. However, the how and why of this situation are buried under a mountain of discarded limbs. I have 2 main questions after watching this here preview. The first, how does one accidentally check into a satanic Marriott? The second, was our protagonist homeschooled by Chuck Norris? I'm genuinely amused by the audacity of the trailer that spoils its own body count. It looks like a blast, but it's the kind of so bad it's good flick I'd rather enjoy from the comfort of my couch, where I can pause to count the plot holes. I give this one a blah, actually. 2 down. 3 to go.
That's a long 3.
Oh, yeah. So let's get to the next one here. And how about Forbidden Fruits? Free Eden employee Apple leads a secret witch cult with co-workers Cherry and Fig. New hire Pumpkin questions their sisterhood, forcing them to confront inner darkness or meet violent ends.
That wasn't even the shortest description we got.
It was, actually.
The Super Mario one's shorter than that.
Oh, yeah. Okay, yeah. Oh, yeah. Super Mario Brothers. It's a sequel, so they figure you only need a sentence. But anyway, here's my thoughts on this gem. I need to be honest, I'm not sure what corner of the multiverse the director and screenwriter inhabit, but it's certainly not one governed by the laws of physics or even the basic policies of TJ Maxx. We've entered a cinematic dimension where a mall boutique is treated with the tribal intensity of a high school clique, which is a bold narrative choice for a workplace where the most dramatic event is usually a broken sensor tag. The villainy on display here is practically baffling. From what I gathered, these retail revolutionaries are switching price tags right before the transaction. Does this boutique simply not hand out proof of purchase? Do their patrons never glance at a credit card statement and realize they paid $400 for a polyester blend that was marked $40? It's less a psychological thriller and more of an accidental PSA for checking your bank app at once in a while. What we have here is essentially a low-budget, straight-to-streaming sequel to Mean Girls. Imagine the plastics graduated, realized they had no transferable skills, and landed a boring retail gig that drove them so mad they started a coven. A cocktail of TNA and tax fraud, served in a food court that tries to make folding sweaters look like a high-stakes occult ritual. It feels less forbidden and more confused by the lack of corporate HR department. I have other things I would rather be watching, so I have to give this a touch brown. What say you?
Oof, this was the worst video description of the entire lot we have on show here today. Almost every comment under this video compared this to Mean Girls Meets the Craft, and frankly, I'm hard-pressed to disagree with it. In this movie's case, the somewhat campy 2000s girl power / catfight tone meets with your typical thriller, which might be in the film's favor. I feel like it's playing to a time in films that the nostalgia wave might be just about to crash against. This is probably going to get mangled by the critics at launch, but I feel that there's a certain subsection of the crowd that will be more than happy to dig into this mall rat special. I was only able to give this a blah.
Oh, so you would still watch it, though. You like you some Skinamax. Just kidding. Okay.
I think at least they picked the cast well for what they were doing. They really did sell that Mean Girls energy, and that's better than they could have done.
Fair enough.
I at least believed them.
All right. So what is next?
Well, that leaves us, before we get to our 400-pound gorilla, I believe that leaves us with A Magnificent Life. In 1955, 60-year-old Marcel Pagnol is well-known and acclaimed playwright and filmmaker. When the editor-in-chief of Elle magazine commissions a weekly column about Pagnol's childhood, he sees this as a great opportunity to go back to his artistic roots, writing. Realizing his memory is failing him and deeply affected by the disappointing results of his last two plays, Pagnol starts doubting his ability to pursue his work. That is, until little Marcel, the young boy he used to be, appears to him as if by magic. Together, they will explore Marcel Pagnol's incredible life and bring back to life his most cherished encounters and memories. As for what I thought, now we have a bit of French sensibilities from our Australian one earlier. Full disclosure, I read the synopsis 2 or 3 times before I did my first watch of the trailer, and I was certainly not expecting to see that this was an animated film. That caught me quite off guard, pleasantly so. That said, the first thing that jumped out at me like a spider out of a jam jar was the echo in the sound. I'm not sure if it was intentional, but it sounded like they did a fair amount of voice recording in any room where they could corner the actor. Western European animation certainly has a slightly grittier charm to it. The character design has more sharp edges than you're used to seeing in American animation, and for better or worse, it seems to have given some of the characters very exaggerated features. I particularly liked the one in the background that had a striking resemblance to Prince Charles. Probably unlike every other trailer on this list, I fully understood what was happening, and even though I think the trailer and the synopsis were running backwards to each other, I still understood. I still got it. As somebody who's been working in the film and theater industry for the better part of 20 years now, the trailer made me feel like this film would speak to me. I've been primarily an actor for my entire run in the entertainment industry, but lately I've been dipping my toes into writing and directing. I understand the stress of feeling creatively stagnant or at a loose end, not sure where to go next with your art, wanting to give up, and then finding your passion for your art all over again. I have to be honest, I really would go see this in theaters, so for me, this was good.
Wow, the first good. Okay.
Shocking, right?
A long time. Usually, I give those things out like about as often as Halley's Comet coming around.
Believe me, I was surprised too.
All right. Well, A Magnificent Life. It is a genuine cinematic tragedy, the kind that usually involves a high-profile director losing his final cut. That's such magnificent animation, and yes, the pun is as intended, as a lens flare in a James J. Abrams flick, has been squandered on a feature-length documentary. We are witnessing a profound visual paradox. These are the kind of breathtaking, how did they render that aesthetics that would normally lure me into a theater, even if it meant taking out a second mortgage to afford a value combo at the concession stand. However, the subject matter is a different story. I would flip the channel on this documentary faster than a Formula One pit crew swaps a tire. For those not keeping track of the telemetry, that's roughly 1.8 to 2.5 seconds. Though if we're being generously and accounting for a sticky wheel nut, let's call it 4 seconds. The only thing more baffling than the narrative choice is the character design. While the environments are a masterpiece, the human beings look like a genetic collaboration between the mutants from The Hills Have Eyes and a burlap sack of unwashed potatoes. It's a stylistic choice that creates a meta layer of irony. The world, hyper-realistic, soul-stirring, beautiful. The people, lumpy, terrifying, and deeply confusing. In a weird way, the animation is the perfect metaphor for the film itself. A gorgeous high-fidelity wrapper, a around a core that I simply cannot look at for more than a few seconds at a time. So with these parables, I can only give this a touch brown. And that kind of sums up the first four. Before we get to the 400-pound gorilla, let's recap here. The Serpent's Skin got mud bricked. Both Blake and I gave it touch browns. They Will Kill You, I gave it a blah. Blake gave it a touch brown. Forbidden Fruits, Blake gave it a blah. I gave it a touch brown. And A Magnificent Life, Blake gave it a good. And I gave it a touch brown. So that brings us to the 400-pound gorilla in the room this week, which is, drumroll please, the Super Mario Galaxy movie. And here's your one-sentence synopsis. Mario, Luigi, and Princess Peach embark on an adventure across the galaxy. That's it.
So
That's
descriptive.
all you get. So, if the first Mario movie didn't cement my theory, the Garfield movie acted as a formal deposition. We are living in the era of the Pratt-pocalypse. We are witnessing the return of the most polarizing vocal choice in cinematic history. Some actors treat voice work like a transformative craft. Others treat it like they're leaving an unusually long, slightly bored voicemail for their agent. Guess which one I think Chris Pratt does? It's true. I grew up with Mario. I've known this man since he was an 8-bit pixelated carpenter dodging barrels in a 1981 arcade cabinet. We have decades of established vocal DNA for this character. A high-pitched, joyous Italian enthusiasm that is as much a part of the brand as the Red Hat itself. Then the trailer for this film starts, and I am reminded every time Mario opens his mouth, it's just Chris Pratt being a guy in a recording booth in Los Angeles. I don't see a plumber. I see Peter Quill after a very long weekend, trapped in an animated body and sporting a pedo stash. The visual fidelity of this sequel is undeniable. It's polished to a high-gloss Nintendo sheen that makes the vacuum of space look inviting. The problem is there is a specific kind of heartbreak that occurs when a childhood icon is replaced by the auditory equivalent of a lukewarm vanilla latte. Clearly, the first movie printed enough money to buy several small Mushroom Kingdoms. Otherwise, we wouldn't be looking at this galaxy-sized follow-up. But as much as I want to get lost in the Rosalinda lore and the gravity mechanics, I can't shake the feeling that Mario's soul has been swapped for a Marvel contract. If I saw this film, I would literally spend the entire movie with my mind manually dubbing over Chris Pratt with Charles Martinet voice in my head. And for that, I have to give this a touch brown. What say you?
Oh, goodness. I'll level with you. I have a bias against movies or TV show adaptations of video games. I am an avid video game fan, and I love narrative where you get to be involved. But more often than not, they either do not respect the source material, for example, the Until Dawn movie or the Warcraft movie, or there really isn't any reason for it to exist, for example, the Last of Us TV show or the Borderlands movie. But this is Nintendo we're talking about here. They are rabid about what they will put their name on and are more protective of their intellectual property than a codependent junkyard dog on crank. The first movie had a fairly major divide between what critics thought and what the audience thought. On Rotten Tomatoes, it's a 44% critics, 93% audience. That's a pretty big gap. And I think I see why it might be the same for this movie. I saw a lot of fan service in this trailer. And while I didn't see anything that would explicitly speak to adults over kids, kind of like the original Shrek movie, every generation of video game consoles had at least one Mario game kicking around to keep generations of new fans knowing who Mario is. And as I said, Mario is a well-recognized pop culture icon, and that very well might be enough. This looks like it has enough going for it to stay entertaining throughout. Although my last personal complaint is Chris Pratt as Mario being a complete, if you'll pardon the pun, black hole of personality for Mario, and I would have much preferred Charles Martinet's high-pitched and slightly perhaps racist Italian interpretation of Mario.
Unless he's Italian.
I don't think he is, but I'll have to check that. This was more of a so-so for me.
Oh wow! So you'd still see it? Just
I'd still watch
price,
it,
huh? Okay.
just to see if they don't surprise me, because they did make Bowser into an interesting character in the first one, and they look like they might have done so here.
See, and that's the biggest contrast in voice work out there, is that you have Chris Pratt sounding like Chris Pratt, and then you have Jack Black, who I don't like Jack Black. I refuse to watch any movie he's in, but at least he got the memo and knows and got the assignment right, because you do not know that is Jack Black doing the voice of Bowser unless someone told you.
In my case, I actually somewhat agree with you. I'm not a big fan of Jack Black in live adaptations. The Minecraft movie was a travesty.
I haven't watched it.
Don't. But as far as his voice work has been concerned, I can sometimes forget that he's playing Poe or the lead in the video game Brutal Legend, or even in this case, Bowser. So, and he definitely is. You can feel the passion for his work come through, as where Chris Pratt just sounds like he's being Chris Pratt. And so I at least respect Jack Black for showing that level of enthusiasm and passion for his craft. So
if you go to watch this, either as a suggested so-so from Blake or as a touch brown from me, bear that in mind. Pay attention to the voice acting, and you'll hear the difference between Chris Pratt and what Jack Black is doing. Even though I don't mind Chris Pratt, I just never saw him in anything. I never watched Parks and Rec, so
I'm sure he's a lovely person in real life.
Well, yeah, but no, as far as acting wise, he's got the range of a Daisy air rifle. But I mean, so
just a puff of air, is it?
Yeah, that's about it. So I mean, he's not a 50 cal sniper rifle, that's for sure.
Well, typecasting be what it is.
All right, so those are the movies that are coming out this week up until April 1st. I know April 1st is a Wednesday, but yeah, that's when they decided to release Super Mario Brothers Galaxy. So next episode we'll feature movies that will be coming out April 2nd through April 5th. Yes, a shorter week because of that movie coming out on the 1st. But when we do those, it'll be The Yeti, The Blue Trail, and Papa Bear. So I would like to see what you think about these here movies. Do you think they are a good and plan to see them in the theaters, or are they, in your opinion, a touch brown? Please leave a comment and let us know. Thank you for watching to the end of this video, and it would go a long way and be very much appreciated if you gave this video a thumbs up. If you enjoyed what you just got done watching, check out the other videos on the channel and subscribe so we have a reason to keep posting these videos about the 7 pillars of pop culture entertainment. To be informed when the next video will be posted, ring the crap out of that notification bell. If you would like to get more news and information about the 7 pillars of pop culture entertainment from Pop Culture Kaboom Daily, check out Pop Culture Kaboom on Facebook and also check out the Pop Culture Kaboom on Instagram. Social media links are also in the description of this video, as well as the trailer links for each movie. So until the next video, peace out, Wabbits.